Good evening, folks, and welcome to this week's Gwladys Beat podcast. Tonight we're joined with Scott. Hi, Scott, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Ready for it.
And a nice little return for Callum. How are you doing, mate?
Good, thanks, Dawn. Thank you. Thanks for having us back.
So it's international break at the moment, isn't it? So obviously we've got one big game to review coming this Monday, but I thought to start with, we could just have a quick wrap up of the transfers in and out. So we had 7 in and 11 out. What's your thoughts on the business that we did, Callum?
The business overall and the transfers that we got in, I thought were good, especially with price-wise was being pretty limited. I think I made you say it was in Dawn 7.
7 in, yeah.
7 in to get 7 in and only spend 1.7 million is spot on. Transfer fees, I think we've seen already Damari Gray's looking like a little bit of a steal. I think Townsend added needed pace. Both of them have to be fair. We've got in second keeper. I think the only disappointment part for me was not getting in a right back, which might bite us on the backside with Coleman now being injured. But yeah, I think overall it felt like a bit of a Moyes transfer window, didn't it? Where we didn't have much money, and it looks like we bought smart, but we can't expect Rafa to do loads and loads and loads after having such a small budget. What are your thoughts on it, Scott?
Yeah, to be honest, I think you're pretty much spot on, mate. I think he's done well with what he's had, but you know, you can't make a sows get into a silk purse, can you? You can't expect to be pushing top form, or you know, I think if we finished in Europe with what we've done, even Europa League, that's not going to be a massive, massive achievement. But you never know. Obviously, it's been tight for money. And Josh Townsend, both footed, you know, could provide the chances we need. I've seen a lot in the paper about Alex Iwobi. Looks like he's coming back into form. I still haven't seen it. I know he's cropped up with little bits, but I'm not as in awe as the press have been of him. If I'm completely honest, I think it's been a bit blew out of proportion. But hopefully he does. And, you know, Damari Gray, what can you say? The money for him and the player he looks, and I can already see it creeping into the papers and online. People are saying it'll fizzle out. Well, let's just hope it doesn't, because from what I've seen so far, he looks like exactly what we need. Rondon, you know, he can be a handful, and, you know, Rafa believes in him. Newcastle fans believe in him, and he could just provide that little added spark when you need it. You know, if you're in a game where you're not getting much up top, because there is sometimes games there where Calvert-Lewin's not really getting a sniff, you know, and he might just be able to come in and change it up a bit. So fingers crossed.
Dawn, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's another good option, isn't he, Rondon? I mean, there's a reason that managers take players along with them, isn't there? You know, like obviously Ancelotti brought Alan and then stabbed him in the back, but let's leave that there. I actually watched the player cam earlier of Rondon in training, and he did a nice little turn, flicked the ball onto DCL to bury it, only in a training match. But I think he gives us another option, doesn't he? And I know I agree with what both of you have said. The only question I'd have on Gray is consistency, because at Leicester he showed sparks of genius, didn't he? But he just didn't keep it up. So hopefully he can, because the mentality's had a bit of a shift, hasn't it, since Rafa, as Callum called him, is the boss. Rafa the gaffer, Cal, is he are you liking him being in charge now then?
To be honest, so far there's no complaints from me. I mean, me and Scott briefly spoke about it on the transfer deadline day show, and I don't know what you think, and I haven't really been keeping up to date with the pods, but I just feel like the footy's a lot better. I feel like when we're going away from home, we look like we can score a goal, as mad as that sounds, but we know what Everton are like away from home, especially with the crowd there. And even Leeds, when we were 2-1 up, we were still going for the extra goal. And Brighton, again, we dominated the whole game. Chance-wise, probably not on the ball, but yeah, for me, I'm really pleased with him, Dawn. And again, I forgot Rondon. I think you both made good points there on him. Like you said, you were watching the player cam. He's not like your stereotypical big fella, is he? He's got like a good touch. He's a good technical player, and you can only go off what the other fans say. And all the Newcastle fans love him. You know, you're getting a dud when all the fans are like, "Oh my God, look who you've got here." A bit like when we signed Iwobi for 35 million.
Talking about Iwobi, I had to clear out the other day and I found an Iwobi shirt that I had, and I must have had too many pints that night to have bought
Should have put it on.
yeah, I think that's going in the bin. But so obviously we brought in 7, and the 7 included the likes of Tosin and Kenny coming back, but we got rid of 11. So, like, what's your thoughts on that? Because obviously there's quite a few players that, you know, the likes of Walcott that wasn't there anyway. Besic and Blassie not played for ages, but then obviously we moved Moise Keane on. What's your thoughts on that, Scott? Have we done good business? Would you have preferred to keep him, or like, what's your thoughts?
To be honest, there's a few more that I think I would have liked to have seen get the chop, you know, but with how limited we are, being able to bring people in, it just seems so difficult. I know Callum's not too keen on Moise. After the display against Huddersfield, wasn't it, where he got sent off, I sort of lost the last of any possible belief that I had in the lad. If there was anything lingering there, that sort of went, because it just shows you he doesn't want to be there. And if he doesn't want to be there, that's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get a Mario Balotelli, but without the first touch and finishing ability. Like, so, I'm a bit. I am, you know, it just seems sad that he has gone and he hasn't made a crack of it, because when he came, he was meant to be a real good player. And sometimes, you know, we've had that many players come who were meant to be something, and they just don't do it, and then, you know, they just go. So probably the best I did say when we were on the other podcast the other day, good riddance, because I just can't have it. If you don't want to be there, I'd rather play a youngster. I'd rather play Ellis Sims, get Ellis Sims on.
Yeah, and
wants to be there.
Yeah, do you think, Cal, what's your thoughts on Moise Keane? And do you think sort of like he's always sort of rang bells about Balotelli with his attitude? Do you think sort of in England we just don't like that?
Yeah, no, and especially us as a fan base. I think if you literally just work hard on the pitch, you'll get given chance after chance at Everton. A bit like Nias, he's got a lovely send off, and Everton fans have got nice things to say about him. Useless footy player. Moise Keane, on the other hand, it's a bit sour for me. I probably, like most Everton fans, was so happy when he signed and so excited. We got this new wonder kid in from Juventus. You know, things are changing for us. And as you both said already, his attitude wasn't great. His touch was even worse. I was shocked he went and scored so many goals at PSG, to be honest. And if you'd asked me when we loaned him to PSG that summer, where he was pretty much useless for us, to pick up the same amount of money we paid for him, it is really good business. I think so. Yeah, that's my thoughts. Pretty similar to Scott, to be honest. And I couldn't even say good luck to him, because I don't really want to see him do well, because he didn't really have much respect for the club. That at Huddersfield, he knew exactly what he was doing there for me, and I think everyone who was there on the night said it.
Yeah. I never liked his attitude, even when the one game he worked hard against Newcastle when he got his first goal, and yeah, there's just something about it for me. But you think when he went to PSG, maybe when you're playing alongside Mbappe and Neymar, the defenders are worrying more about them than they're worrying about him. So he probably had more space. Do you think that was a possibility, Scott?
I think that and a combination of any side outside the top 3 or 4 is potentially that. Like, you know, there isn't. They're probably Championship sides at best. A lot of them, you know, once you get outside the top 4 or 5, really, the quality of the league, it's just not there for me. If a couple of them big sides in the French league weren't there, who would you watch? I mean, like, there's no one. Yeah, ask your regular fan if they could name more than 4 or 5 teams out that French league, and I bet you they couldn't. I bet you they couldn't, because, you know, I think you could probably pick. Do you know what? We had a good discussion about Ademola Lookman on the last podcast as well. Now I'm telling you now, if you put Ademola Lookman in that French league, he'd be flying. He'd be a good player there, and that sort of tells you the story about why Moise has done so well. He's got all that quality around him, and most weeks the level of opposition is relatively not poor, because, you know, don't get me wrong, they're still the best teams in France, but with regards to being some of the most competitive football in Europe, that it is not.
Yeah. So the other one that wasn't an out, a player that we kept, that the fan base is split really on whether to get shut or whether to keep. And Rafa was very, God, I'm calling him Rafa now as well, was very he was very honest to James when he got there, that, you know, maybe it's the issues they had in Real Madrid, maybe it's because he's lazy and he doesn't fit in with the work hard ethic that Benitez has brought in. But what's your thoughts, Callum, on sort of one, that we've kept James, two, the way that he's behaved when he's not been in the squad, and three, do you think he will form part of the squad moving forward?
Well, first of all, I'll start. Your opinion's going to be big here today, Dawn, because me and Scott disagree with it on the Transfer Podcast. What I'll say is, I sort of flipped on his head, and I can understand where loads of Evertonians are coming from, that he was disrespectful to the club and his attitude over the summer and the things he said. But if you've got to take his side to it as well. So he's getting forced out of the club, and he is. We don't want him. That's well be known. We're trying to loan him to Turkey yesterday. We don't want him. So on his behalf, he's probably like, well, how am I getting forced out of this Everton team? You know, I'm good enough to be here, this, that, and the other. Probably feels a little bit embarrassed. That's maybe why he said the things he has on Twitch or wherever he's playing COD. For me, we need to find a place for him in the squad. And that's not saying he needs to be starting every game, because he needs to earn his place. But we've got a thin squad as it is, and there's no point paying him over 200 grand a week or whatever he's on to just sit and rot. For me, we've got to involve him, and he can have an impact for us. You know, his stats spoke for themselves, and however much games he played last year, the assists and goals were good. I think it was 6 assists, 4 goals, 19 starts. So for me, I think we've got to, if his attitude's right, I'm not saying just come straight back in, James, you know, do what you want. If his attitude's right and he's working hard training, and, you know, Benitez feels like he can trust him in the team, for me, you know, I'm going to get behind him, and I am excited to watch him play, but we can't but see.
Yeah. What's your thoughts as well, Scott? Because sort of, I mean, everyone deserves a second chance. So you think he come in, Ancelotti brought him, Ancelotti left him and sort of stabbed him in the back. And then the first thing he wanted to do was to leave because Ancelotti wasn't here anymore. And no one obviously wants him. So now he's here. Do you think he deserves that second chance? Do you think, well, what's happened before, he can turn it all around and like Callum said, get himself back in contention for a squad place?
See, the thing is, like, I've had time to digest what me and Callum spoke about last week, and you know, there are parts of it. He is right. He is right in what he says, and it's got to be earned, hasn't it? He's got to want to be there. He's got to now earn the manager's trust and the manager's belief and the players around him's belief to come back in and get stuck in. And you know what? It's as simple as this for me. If the lad played on Monday night when I'm there, sat in my seat, and he got an assist or a goal, you go play him on the weekend. But only he can do it. You know, does he deserve to just come straight back in and play on Monday? Probably not. Will he? I don't think so. But when he does eventually get a chance, if he takes it, we can be very fickle. And if he gives you something to jump up and down in your seat about, then, you know, even my really forged in beliefs can change. Do you know what I mean? That's all it takes. It just takes, you know, if someone can give you that little extra belief, that little bit of excitement, which the guy can, everybody knows he can, and you know, he is a joy to watch. But it's just hard because, you know, I compared him to Alan last week, who sort of come out and nailed his colours to the mast and wants to be there and wants to do well, and he's just the complete opposite. And it's hard for me to buy into. But like I said, if he got a chance and done well, could potentially change my mind.
Yeah, I guess it's hard for him, isn't it? Because the manager that come in, he fell out with in Real Madrid, and I think, like you both said, he's got on his day, he's got quality like that you'd want on the pitch. Should he start, even if he came off the bench on Monday and did well, got an assist or a goal, should he start the next game? For me, he doesn't fit into that whole work hard ethic that Benitez has brought in. So even though he's got quality, I think for me he should be in the squad, like you say, because the squad's quite thin, particularly in certain positions. But I just don't think he works hard enough to ever earn a starting shirt, unless it's against a team where you can get an advantage with that.
It's also the bigger picture as well. Like, I digested what Scott said as well about being friendly here, but like, if he's being a nightmare around the training ground, and he's bad in the dressing room, then we're gonna have to just pay his money to just rot away somewhere, because you don't need that. And I've seen someone tweet, and I know you can take it with a pinch of salt, but they met like Sharpie and Stewart, and they basically just put, let's just say they weren't very big fans of James. Right. So they obviously pick up things that we don't.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well, isn't it? If you look at how they play together now since the new managers come in, it's more teamy, it's working hard together, no superstars. Like when Richarlison picked the ball up for the penalty, as a group they went over, someone's talking to him, Townsend's knocking the ball out of his hands. It's more teamy, and like you say, if he's doing that in the background, then he doesn't really fit into it, does he? But they need to look at that, because we shouldn't be paying whatever we're paying him, 120, 200 grand a week for just sit there and look pretty. Do you know what I mean? So we move on to the game on Monday. So first game under the lights for a while, with a crowd in there. So Burnley, the opposition. So Scott, Burnley have played 4-1 in the cup. They've got 1 point in the league. They beat Newcastle on penalties in the cup. So they're not doing great so far, but they did give them across the park a run for the money when they played there. What are your thoughts? They brought in a few new players, but they do have a few injury issues as well.
The thing with Burnley is, you're never going to really get an easy game against Burnley. They're always well organised, and they can be quite physical up front. It's just hard, because you don't know what's going to turn up with them, really, because they haven't had the best start. But they didn't look bad against Liverpool. But I didn't think they looked too bad against Liverpool. I'm not up to date with what injuries they've got, if I'm completely honest. But I know you've got Chris Wood, Ashley Barnes, and Rodriguez. Any of them, are enough to give you a tough time at the back. And the way we've defended in some of the games in spells, that could be a bit of worry. But I am confident that if we play the way we have been playing, especially with the pace going forward, we should be able to provide more of a threat against their defence than they should against ours.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Callum? Where do you think are sort of going to be the areas to worry about from them?
It's a difficult game, and you were asking about what I think of Rafa so far. Obviously, it has been good so far, but it's another question for him. So, in that regard, it's going to be the first game where we're going to have most of the ball. We're going to win possession, basically, which we haven't done so far yet this season. So it's what we can do with that, how we can stop the counter, which we didn't last year. What was the score last year? Was it 2-0 Burnley? 2-1?
2-0, yeah.
It was, yeah. And they hit us on the counter attack really well, and we just didn't stop it. So that's going to be another question: how well we keep the ball. But yeah, I agree with what Scott said. They're a rigid team, aren't they? I think anyone coming up against Burnley sort of winters and they're a bit like, we're in the game here. Another question, I don't know what you guys think, and this will worry for me, especially Huddersfield. I think they had one disallowed, they scored one. Is Rafa's zonal marking at the minute. We just haven't got it yet. And that's what they will target. So it's not what I'm confident going into. You look at it on paper and you say, I think we should win, but it's going to be a difficult game. And there's just loads of question marks, really, really in on the season. What's your thoughts, Dawn?
Yeah, with the zonal marking, I mean, we did zonal marking under Ancelotti as well, didn't we? But he had them sitting in the 6-yard box, all pretty close to the goal. So I guess it's not as bad as it was, but I think you've got to have a certain set of players that have got very good awareness and stuff like that to play zonal. Because if it's man to man, you know straight away what your job is. There's question marks, isn't there? Put into, is he yours? Is he mine? When it's zonal, and I worry about that. I worry about us in the air and defensively, because if you look at our back line, like Keane hasn't had the best start to the season. Mina's been injured, but apparently him and Godfrey are one of the ones that are meant to be back, possibly, for Monday. So Mina in there, but then it's who else can head a ball? Do you know what I mean? What about you?
You know, I think that's going to be a big thing for them. No, you know, any type of set piece, I think they will be looking to exploit that really, because there's the big. Do you know what? His name's gone off the Ben Mee. If the lad's fit, like I said, I'm not up to date on their injuries, but like, you know, get that fella up there to try and cause a bit of trouble when they've got a set piece, corners, free kicks on the edge of the box if they can. I don't think they're going to give us too much trouble knocking the ball around. You know, I think it's going to be like a play for set pieces and just try and nick what they can. So I'm just hoping, you know, like I know we raised questions about our defence from last year and how they play, but I think this year we look a lot more compact, a lot more organised, a lot more players coming back to help out, and everyone seems to know the roles a bit better. So I am going to be positive, me, and I just don't think they'll be able to break us down on the floor, but we do just need to be careful with the set pieces, because that is a worry, a bit of a worry for me.
Yeah, that's one of their strengths, isn't it? And sort of, I guess, based on last season, and like you say, Callum, we haven't seen it this season. Under Ancelotti, when we did have more of the ball, we didn't do great with it. So what do you think he can change, or what do you think's different with how we play now to last season to make us to be able to do that better than what we were last season?
Well, I think already we've seen it with the Corey. He's sort of made him a little bit more box-to-boxy type. I think that's what we were expecting when he came in. I think he played it once away at Tottenham and we won 2-0. Apart from that, Ancelotti sort of had him and Allen really quite deep, and there was a big gap between them and Sigurdsson at the time, who was in the 10. And I think we're a lot better with Decore, and we've got an extra number going up there. Decore's making things happen. We've got a little bit more energy. So I think that's a positive. And I think the main thing, and I think we were crying out for it every podcast last year, is we've actually got pace on the wings now to hurt them. So when the game's a little bit tight, or, you know, maybe we've got a chance to counter-attack them quick, which we won't get many opportunities. You know, you've got players like Gray who can pick the ball up at speed, run at people. You know, Townsend's got the ability to get down the line and whip a ball in, or even cut inside. So I think that pace is really going to help us this year. And yeah, I'm with Scott. You know, I'm a lot more positive with going into these games with Benitez for you, Dawn, than I am Ancelotti. And I don't expect to be bored. And I think Benitez, we've got to give him his due. I think he gets what we want, really. I think he really does, but we can't but see.
Well, we hope the good run lasts longer, because obviously most of us feel if there's a bad run, it's going to get toxic. But so with everyone being available, so obviously Seamus is injured and shock horror, Delph is out, but we're meant to possibly have Godfrey, Mina, DCL and Hammers back. So if you're picking a team, Callum, starting lineup, who would you go with?
I probably wouldn't make many changes. Obviously, Luca Dean left back, Michael Keane just on games that he's played. I think it'd be tough to throw Godfrey straight back in there. It'll be one of Godfrey and Mina, and I'll let Rafa choose that. I'll put either one of them two back in. I'm not fussed. Is Coleman definitely out? I've not heard much more.
Apparently, he's like 50% or something.
All right, then we'll go Godfrey right back, Yerry Mina centre back, Alan Decore, Townsend, Gray, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. What about you, Scott?
To be honest, I'd have gone the same really, but I was reading a thing earlier on, and they were saying that obviously Tom Davies has played that right back position before. They were saying, and there's a bit of talk floating around that he might play there. And to be honest, I do believe that he can do it, because when he's done it before, he hasn't looked bad. I know he's not going to go marauding down the wing and like try and make overlap and runs, but with Godfrey not playing, and you don't know how the COVID he's had might just took a bit of wind out of his sails. I think I'd probably go for that, as much of a risk as it is. But I think everything else could keep the same. You know, up the top end, you can't really change it. You know, Gray, Townsend, Lewin, Richarlison, that's looking good for me. Just the ability to just run at players, like for so long, having sat and watched sideways passes and it goes up and then it comes back and back around and then back around again, and then you get it robs off you and caught on the break. I just feel like Callum said, you just feel like you've got a bit more threat now, a bit more energy. People who want to do it. I mean, it's not just even based on ability. Sometimes a lot of it's heart and wanting to fight and do well and win as a team. And I think that is what you're starting to see. You're starting to see them wanting to work together and fight for the place and fight for the shirt. And I think particularly with Townsend and Gray, I think they both sort of encapsulate that for me, the sort of will to do well. Like Townsend's come out and said he feels like he's in his prime. Well, if he feels like he's in his prime, then, you know, that's good enough for me. That's fighting talk, isn't it? I don't know whether, though, like with them, everyone saying Iwobi is doing so well. You know, okay, he has got stats to prove it. He's got assists, hasn't he? And he nicked a goal. Did he score at Huddersfield, was it?
Yeah, he scored.
So he's nicked a goal as well. So, you know, he might play. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. How long it lasts for them now, I don't know, but we will see.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think last season I bought the socks off Callum and Nick, moaning about mentality all the time, and you have seen a shift in that. They do seem to be working hard for each other and for the team. And even like you mentioned Townsend as well, was it the Brighton game where in the last couple of minutes he came from nowhere and put a beastly tackle on the edge of our own area, and that, like, in the last minute, if he didn't get that, the guys in the box probably gets a shot off and possibly scores, and you sort of go, that's where to go. That's what you want. Players like that. I go with exactly the same as what you are saying. I certainly wouldn't put Tom Davies at right back, because the thought it scares me. And I wouldn't particularly put Holgate there, but I think, like you mentioned, Godfrey's had COVID, hasn't he? So, and he's been out for a while, so maybe physically, you know, with his respiratory system or whatever, he's not fit enough to play. So it'd have to be Holgate.
Why not John Joe Kenny for either of you two? I know I didn't say it either, but I'm just asking a question.
It's not good
well, for me, do you know what, mate? I've got to be honest. Like, I've never disliked John Joe Kenny. Like, whenever I've seen him, I've always, don't get me wrong, he hasn't stood out as, like, you're not going to look and go, wow. But I don't think he's done much wrong, to be fair. And even I watched a little bit of him when he was in Germany, and I know the quality for a lot of the teams isn't the same. And I know the team didn't actually do fantastic, but he looked well, man. They loved him. They loved him there. He went on loan and he started most of the games, played a lot of games, and like, he just doesn't seem to be liked. I don't know whether, you know, they can see the quality better than we can because they see him every day, but I just think if the manager doesn't seem to have the faith in him, or previous managers, you sort of just push him to one side yourself.
So,
why didn't they keep him then? I mean, I watched him a few games in Schalke as well, and I've seen him play a few games for us, and he does this thing that's really annoying. He gets up the pitch to support the attack, and then when the ball's lost, he jogs back and points people into his position. There's no breaking your back, like, you know, Townsend's a winger, not a fullback, getting back to put a tackle in. He just, I think he's a championship player at best. I just don't think he's got what it takes to even be a backup right back for a Premier League side. What about you, Carl?
Yeah, because it's interesting. Like he is the one who should really be going in, shouldn't he? You know, he's an out right back. But none of us have put him in there, and I sort of agree with both what you have said. I think he defends well. He defends his own box well. Like I think he played brilliantly. Remember the 1-1 derby? I mean, we're going back years. He was probably a young lad there, and he won some brilliant headers at the back post. I sort of agree with you, Dawn and Scott. I think it's just that level of technical ability, like a Huddersfield that was there, just on show. Like he was just getting the ball nicked off him constantly. His touch wasn't great. So I just think it's that little bit of quality. But I think defending-wise, I think he's a good player. But yeah, I would love him to do well as well. You know, he's a local lad, and I think he knows what it's about as well. But
yeah, you'd always think, don't you, though, he did well in Germany, he did well in Scotland, but no one kept him. So if he was doing that well, why didn't he? He wouldn't cost that much, would he? He'd be pretty cheap. And just while we're talking about fullbacks and before we finish, what do you think about Niels Nkuku then as well? Because we brought him in, we saw him in cup games and he looked quite good, particularly going forwards, but Ancelotti wouldn't put him near the pitch, and now we've sent him out on loan. Even though, apart from the centre halves we haven't got like a proper, you know, backup left back. What are your thoughts on him? Is he not what Marcel Brands thought he was? The managers don't like him.
I don't think it's that, to be honest. I think they do like him, because I've seen, as boring as I am, I've seen another thing today where it was saying like sort of he pushed for the move because he wanted to play.
Right.
He didn't want to just be a bit part, and you know what, you can't blame him for that, because you don't want to turn into a John Joe Kenny. You know, for some of them the loans work, and I think when I've watched them, I've liked him. I was crying out for them last season when we were struggling. I was saying every week in, week out, play these young lads because they're senior squad. Some of them didn't want to know, and I think he does look good. You know, like getting forward, like he looked really good, coming back, making tackles, not just jogging back, pointing. The lads was coming back, intercepting, winning headers, playing the ball out, making the runs. So I thought he's done well. I just hope it is true that, you know, it's him who's pushed for it, because if they were just gonna just let him go out on loan to just sort of get him out the hair, then it's pretty sad, because for me, I think he looks like he could turn out to be a real quality player.
Yeah, what about you, Carl?
Tough one. I think he's nice on the eye, and Scott's picked up on. I think everyone has who's watched him. Like, gets the ball and going forward, you're like, go on, Niels, because you know he can beat a man and whip in a decent delivery. I think why he's not been getting a lot of game time, I think this is what the loan move might be good for him, is he just needs to master his trade defensively, and by that I mean picking up runners off the back of his shoulder. I'd sort of 1v1 defender. I don't know if he went to Huddersfield or watched it, but he got turned quite easy a few times away at Huddersfield. So I feel like that might be what they're looking to improve him by. If he can't, he won't make it at Everton, but let's hope he can, because I think going forward, we've got a real talent there. What do you think, Dawn?
No, I agree. Like in the cup games that he played when he first arrived, he did really well, particularly going forward. Obviously, the only team we played off that was a Premier League team was West Ham. He did all right in that, but we've not really seen him. I do agree with you, Cal, that defensively he needs to work on that stuff, because you've both said about him going forward, and that seemed great. But his reaction after the Spurs game, his little video he made in the dressing room, like, he's obviously got a bit of passion about the club, and you want players like that. So, you know, fingers crossed he goes away, gets better defensively, and comes back and gives us another option in the side.
But
So,
buy on it though, sorry.
What did you say, sorry?
Have they got an option to buy on it?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Because obviously that doesn't scream out good signs if, you know, we're giving them, like, you can have him for 4 million at the end if you want him, you know what I mean? Because that means he probably won't be coming back then, if he's any good.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm not sure, we'll have to double check it, like, but there was rumours, which I was disappointed with, because I just thought it was there to develop him.
Yeah. Oh God, well, fingers crossed it's not that, and we can get him back. So obviously Burnley under the lights on Monday night. So we dare do predictions? Should we start with nervous Scott?
You know what? I am confident. I do have faith in Rafa. I'm pleased with what I've seen. I'm happy with, don't get me wrong, I would like some more money spent if it was possible, and a couple maybe of bigger names coming in. But that being said, I am happy with what's been happening on the pitch, and I do believe it'll be a bit too much for Burnley. I'm gonna go 2-0 Everton.
Nice. What about you, Carl?
Yeah, 2-1. It'd be a tough night's work, but I think we'll get through it. I think we'll go 2-0 up and concede late like we do, and just give us a little heart attack, but we'll win it.
Well, I've got to say, in my head, it was 2-1 as well, because I just, in most games, can't see us not conceding at some point. So, and I'm not sure against them we'd score more than 2. So, yeah, 2-1 for me as well. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it's another 3 points for the Blues. Goodison. So, thanks for joining us, lads. And thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Nice.